All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. So great to have you all in this room. What a turnout. This is so cool. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce the next artist who will be speaking for us, Mr. Kevin Nealon.
Check. Yeah, there we go. Hi, everybody. Oh. Anyway, I'm so excited to be here. And no rushing the stage, please. No rushing the stage. Oh, you do? Okay. All right. Want me to stay over here for the whole night? First of all, ISCA doesn't, you know, I mean, this, I love staying in a brand new hotel like this. This is like the best ever. ISCA spares no expense when it comes. They even put me in a suite. I'm staying with it's a honeymoon suite. I'm staying with a nice couple from Nebraska over there and getting some good shots. But anyway, I am very excited to be here, and I feel so intimidated with the overwhelming amount of talent in this room because I've sketched most of my life, but it's never been focused. It's always been doodling and things like that. And people ask me how I got started. And there's a few things that kind of steered me in that direction. Well, first of all, this picture here, I didn't realize they'd leave it up so long, but this is just an example. When I was a kid, I lived in Germany. My father worked for a helicopter company. He called it a German outfit, but so I thought Lederhosen was where he worked, but that's how they talked back then. But we would go to a military base once in a while in the commissary. And I remember sitting down at a table and some serviceman had sketched a picture like this. I still remember it because I copied it and I, remembered how to draw it so many times. And that was really like my first caricature thing that I drew. And then, as I got older, I went to school and I remember learning how to draw maps, the hand-to-eye coordination and looking at it. And I would draw really caricatures of maps because I wasn't that good, so like the boot of Italy was more like a platform shoe of Italy, and I've been studying caricatures forever. And when I say that, I mean, when I would go to an amusement park or the boardwalk, I'd always stand behind the caricaturist and watch them draw somebody when the rest of my family went and rode the ride. So I would just, watch them. I could recognize them from their back, but never from their front if I saw them again, And let's see. And I was really good at kind of forgery. Like in college, when there was a stamp to get into the dance, I would be in the bathroom with markers and there'd be a long line of, kids that wanted me to duplicate the stamp. And I would do that. So I'm not perfect, okay? Anyway, so that was the basic kind of schooling that I had from it. And also, when I was like in grammar school, there was 2 pictures of my parents, caricatures, framed, hanging over the dresser in my bedroom. And there were really good caricatures of my parents that some artist in Paris did. It wasn't your typical caricature. It was really detailed and it was in pastel colors. And they were framed. And every night I would lie in bed and kind of look at that. And I couldn't help but subconsciously analyzing the exaggerations and the brushstrokes. And I think that really influenced me a lot. And then I just started sketching everybody that I saw, even on SNL during the table reads. I would, if I wasn't in a sketch, I would be bored and I would just sketch whomever was sitting across from me, whether it was Dana Carvey, or any of the cast members, or even the host. I would do that. And then I would just draw whenever I could. But I never, like I said, I never really took any lessons and I never really focused on it. It was always just a fun thing for me to do. And I would do it in the margins and just draw people and do it really quickly. And really, it wasn't really worth showing anybody. And then about 2 years ago, 2019, I should preface that by saying that I would follow a lot of you on Instagram. and I learned a lot from that too, by looking at all the different styles. And it's a lot like stand-up comedy. When you start, you don't really have a style. You're just emulating somebody. like when I started stand-up, everybody was doing Steve Martin or Richard Pryor or Woody Allen. And I see a lot of similarities in stand-up to drawing caricatures because it's kind of the same thing. During the pandemic, I really started focusing on it. I found how much people, appreciated it when you put it on Instagram. And that was kind of an impetus for me to continue doing it because you see how much people like it. So it is a lot like stand-up. You find your style, you find your voice, and then you, I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You guys are all professionals. So, I'm still trying to find my style. I'm still kind of learning, and I've kind of been making some good progress, according to Tom. I mean, thank you. And thank you to Tom and the board for inviting me to be here today. And I'm learning so much. This is like a whole new world for me. And everybody's been so nice and supportive over the years. And by over the years, I mean the last 2 years. And so I'm really thrilled with it. I love doing this. And I don't do commission stuff. It's more of a hobby for me. I don't have deadlines like you guys, so I could kind of really enjoy it more. And I don't think that I'll ever have a deadline. I hope not, because I've had friends growing up that were artists, and they were always like, as you know, in pain over the deadline, and they couldn't make it as good as they wanted it to, and they just had to get it out. And so 2 years ago, after following a lot of people on Instagram, none of you here, I would, no, probably a lot of you here. I found like some people that I really kind of related to, and one of them was Paul Moyse. Fire alarm. That is an Amber Alert. That won't go off until they find the kid. By the way, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Kevin Nealon Artwork or on Amber Alert, those two things. My Amber Alert is a blue El Camino. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I was at LAX waiting for my flight, and I was just kind of scrolling through, and I saw Paul Moyse, the caricature artist from England, and I liked his work. And then I saw right away that he was giving lessons in Skype because he lives in England. I wasn't going to fly over there every week. And so I said, yeah, Skype sounds okay. So I Skyped with him for 10 weeks, and I thought it was just going to be caricature art, but it was really, it was digital art on Photoshop, but I wasn't familiar with that at all. I thought he was just going to critique my art and give me some ideas and suggestions, but I started learning about digital art and Photoshop, and that was really frustrating for me. It took me a long time to learn layers even. I mean, maybe 2 months ago, I learned layers, how to work those. But he was really good, and I learned a lot from him. And then I started getting better at it, and I started learning, I loved how you could blend on Photoshop, and I loved all the brushes, and it wasn't messy and didn't take long. And it takes me a long time to paint a picture. I'm like really, really slow. I could never have a job as a professional illustrator because I would never meet a deadline. If they said the deadline was next year, I'd say maybe I can make that deadline. Because just to do one painting, it takes me like 20 hours. And then I became friendly with Jason Seiler, who's been a mentor to me for the last couple of years. And he's not here now, but he's watching. Hi, Jason, I'm talking about you now. But he's been really helpful to me, and I loved his work. And I would text him a lot about how to, how do I get this to work on Photoshop? And he'd go, try this, try that, and ultimately we figured it out. But he was really helpful, and he'd look at some of my paintings and tell me maybe a little this, less that. And he was so supportive and encouraging. And then he decided to get into stand-up comedy. So I felt like I was at least helping him a little bit, because I was afraid he'd start charging me after a while. So now I'm telling him, how to work the mic and things like that. And, and so that's been a great relationship. You should see our text chain back and forth. There could be a book like over the years, but mostly me asking him stupid questions and him being patient with me. So anyway, I put together a little slideshow that that'll show you kind of my progress. And like I said, I'm not going to leave the pictures up too long because you guys are so good. I don't want you to see any mistakes or imperfections. And so this is the one I started with. And I don't know if you've seen that long enough. And then I just started like doodling on papers, you know, just drawing people, various people. And this was on one of the SNL sketches that I had in front of me. I was trying to draw Phil Hartman on the right and Jan Hooks on the left. And, but you can see it's a funny script. And that was Conan O'Brien at SNL when he was a writer. He doesn't like it very much. That was my wife sleeping. I mean, sleeping off a hangover. That was another buddy sleeping. So, you know, drawing sleeping people is good because they don't move too much. That was a friend of mine. So these are just, that was Gary Shandling. I got into the pointillist thing for a while, the dots, you know. But that took even longer than, you know, that was just some guy. That was a self-portrait I did. I always seem to be angry in the self-portraits. That was just some guy. That was a comic. That was Bernie Sanders on the bottom. That was like in 80 or something. And then I started flying, you know, I was flying a lot. And again, people sleeping on planes were fun to draw. So I did a lot of plane sketches. And I just, every time I flew somewhere, I would do this sketch and I'd write on where the flight was and what seat they were in. You know? I just kind of go through these. They're all sleeping. That was transatlantic trip there to Amsterdam, I think. Yeah. And that was Southwest Airlines, I think. Yeah. Like, that's a silhouette. Let me see, this is, oh yeah. That guy was a jerk. This guy wishes he never left. These people aren't happy together. This guy was actually a driver I had. I put him in the airplane because I had a profile. I cheated a little bit on that one. She needs to lose weight in her arm, but other than that, she was doing good. This woman was coming back from a wedding and she was hungover and she was still drinking wine on the way back. These are more sleepers. This is me on a flight somewhere and I was not happy. And my eyes were a little bloodshot. That was all black and white. Somehow the eyes turned out red anyway. I'm starting to get a little better now. I'm adding more color, and but still not great. This was probably during the pandemic. And so once you get where you're going, then you sketch the people where you're at. And this was in a cafe in Vienna, I think, this guy. Some foreigner. This is a guy in the airport at Frankfurt. This was someone at the museum, Van Gogh, no, Monet. This is a waiter in Paris. This is a guy in Prague. And then I like to play with the filters sometimes. Makes it look kind of cool. This is a TV actor, Paul Rust, from a show called Love. This is when I first started kind of learning how to exaggerate a little bit better. Rachel Dratch. Oops. That's Hillary Clinton. She didn't shave her legs yet. Rachel Dratch again. That's Giuliani. So this is still on paper and pencil before I got to the digital stuff. Spike, Michael Strahan. And this is like when I started getting into the digital stuff. This is James Taylor. It's the first concert I went to. Tom Petty. This is a sequence of kind of how I do a thing, and you can see how much I jump around trying to find the person. So that's Rami Malek. Yeah, that was that. Thank you. This is Eddie Vedder. I need someone to hold a mirror in front of me so I can see what's on the screen. That's today's Robert Plant. You never know he was the same guy. Hey, mom, I'm gonna make you move. That's him. That's what you do when you're not a good artist. That's him. That's her. That's Whitney Houston, Lady Gaga, Chappelle, Andy Kaufman, Chris Rock, David Letterman. I should move the cursor out of the way. I forget who that is. This is like the fly on Pence's head right here. It's Tiffany Haddish. Lauren Michaels, my boss. She used to have the best parties in Hollywood. I mean, everybody was there. Harrison Ford, George Lucas, me. Harry Dean Stanton. That was Maggie Gyllenhaal. That's Elizabeth Taylor. I met Elizabeth Taylor at one of Carrie Fisher's party, and she was probably in her 70s. And I said, I'm so, excited to meet you. I said, how you doing these days? How you feeling? She goes, not that good. My back is out. I said, you should try ice on your back. She goes, oh, I do frozen bag of peas. This is how I learned about frozen bag of peas. She goes, I put a frozen bag of peas on my back because it conforms to your back, and it covers. And I said, that's interesting. So then I went out and I got a bag of peas because, I'm an athlete. And and I would use the bag of peas. And it was like it was like Tom Hanks Wilson in Castaway. I would call him my Elizabeth, And then one day my mother-in-law came over and she made us dinner, and I saw that she had made peas. I go, where'd you get those peas? She cooked my Elizabeth. And I knew it because I had that bag of peas for 3 years. And you couldn't even read the writing on it. It was so worn out. And the peas smell like Ben Gay because I always had Ben Gay on too. That was Howard Stern. I feel good about this because I hid his wife's hair, her name and his hair. I didn't do it on purpose. It just turned out that way. That's Christopher Walken. This is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and this is when I started saying I gotta exaggerate more. I'm afraid to make push and exaggerate features, and then I just tried it with her. She wouldn't like that until this went and Travolta. That's it. So Tom, you want to come up? Hey, you. Much. Thank you. Oh, thank you, man. That was a workout. I need water. I need a back rub. You do back rubs?
Hey, I'm back. We on? Can you hear me?
It works great.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
got it's
Cool.
great.
Cool. No, that's probably a health violation.
Let me see if I can fix it for you. There's usually a switch on here, but the green light, checking, check. Try that.
You got the touch. Look at that. All right. Can you believe we wore the same outfit to this thing?
Tom gave me this shirt in Cleveland, was it?
Yeah.
About a month or two ago.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't like it. I thought maybe I could leave it in the hotel room, but then I felt a little guilty. And I thought, where would I ever wear this shirt? And I thought, oh, that convention's coming up.
Yep. Perfect timing. See, I know what I'm doing.
You do.
I know how to self-promote. Kevin, thank you for being here. This is really an honor to have you come out and support our community and just be a part of it. I saw you mingling with everyone in the ballroom a little bit earlier, and it seems like you're one of us now. You're in the club. Did any?
I was always one of you. I just hadn't met you yet.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of me out there. There's others too. You got to wrangle them all in.
Yeah, I know. And I mentioned earlier in Christie's seminar that I like to find caricature in the wild and get them into ISCA. And Kevin, I thought it might be too big a fish to land. Like, how are we going to get the SNL guy into ISCA? You're talented, but
I still don't know what ISCA means, but I like the sound of it.
Like it means whatever you want it to mean.
Do you think that there's a really good caricature artist out there, like a Kruger type that nobody even knows about because he doesn't post or anything, or just does it at home? He's
Yeah,
got them
I'm
all in
sure
his
there
bedroom.
is. Yeah, yeah. And we're looking for them every day. Like, hey, we're trying to land that white whale.
And he'd never come to one of these conventions.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's
And he's
true.
probably a serial killer.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you being here with your profile get out to that person. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
But seriously, I was like, do I gotta go through an agent or anything like that? And I'm just like, no, you said you were on Instagram. You're like, oh, hey, what's up? And so I'm just like, hey, maybe I'll come to ISCA. And here you are. And so it does mean a lot to have you here. It makes me look good too, which is awesome.
Did you tell him how much you're paying me?
Oh man, no, that's.
Steve Martin had a really good joke once. He did a benefit and he to the charity, and he goes, "Will, congratulations, you guys raised $300,000 tonight, minus my $50,000 salary." No, I'm just here because I love caricatures. It's
So Kevin, earlier in the week, we put out a call for questions because I wasn't going to do any research or anything.
I don't blame you.
Interview.
I don't blame you.
I'm not that dedicated, so I'm just like, I'm sure these people have some more questions.
Don't you have Wikipedia?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to print out the Wikipedia and hand it to them. Like, you're here. Let's capitalize on that. So I do have a few questions that were submitted by members here and kind of like across our member base. And I'd like to ask you a few of those, and then
Okay.
We'll open the floor to a Q&A live here as well. So I actually want to start with a question that was asked. One of the first questions that came through on our form. And if you don't mind, I'd like to field this one.
Is it how tall am I?
Yeah. Well, actually, how tall are you?
I have a height range of 5'8" to 6'4".
Okay. There you go. Now you know. The question was, have you considered joining ISCA? And interestingly enough, Kevin has been a member of ISCA since, was it 2018, 2019?
It's since the 1900s.
Since the 1900s. Yeah. Kevin was the founder. No.
It was a couple of years ago. I've let my registration expire here and there, but I always come back.
They always come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's nowhere else to go.
Exactly. What other caricature organization are you?
There are no other characters. You believe me, I'd be there if there was. There's one over at the Four Seasons, I heard. But there's only 5 artists there.
Yeah, we kind of double booked. It was really awkward.
How long does it take you to sober up?
A long, hard night.
When you start talking into your cell phone, then I know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Checking your messages on the mic.
So someone brought up this point. This was Don Pinsent mentioned. I like how all or many of the celebrity characters you post on Instagram are accompanied by personal experiences or anecdotes you associate with that person. Is that a requirement for you when choosing a celebrity to paint, or how do you decide who your next subject is going to be?
That's from Dean Prince.
Don Pinsent.
Pinsent.
Yeah, Don is actually here. Don, where are you?
Is that you?
There you? I was sitting next to him.
Well, why don't you let him ask the question?
Yeah. He's signing on the form.
Well, Don, that's a good question. That's a good question. What was it again? Some of them I do pick because I have stories to go with them, and I kind of like adding a story on the Instagram. I think, what would people like? And others I don't know, but I could kind of relate to them. Like if I did a Freddie Mercury, I could talk about being in garage bands. So I have a book coming out in November, and only because it's me and I'm drawing, not because I'm that good, but it's coming out next November, and it's just about a little more than 50 caricatures with a story anecdote on the opposite page, but much more than the Instagram. It's like, 1,200 words each. And so, yeah, it's like, like Travolta I did because he hosted SNL once, so we were friends back then. And one night during the week, we went over to Jan Hook's apartment. She was on the show with us, and it was her birthday. And there was a couple other people too. And I remember in his apartment, we each tried to replicate, his look in Grease, looking over the shoulder. with a cigarette. And so like 4 of us did it, and then Travolta did it, and he did it the best. He did it the best. Yeah. Yeah. This is something how I do it like this. Okay. I don't do impressions. I do an impression of a caricature artist.
So,
But Don, that was a great question. Yeah.
this and that's always something I appreciate about your work too, is because it always felt very personal, you know, and I always like that. I always like that there's like when caricature can tell a story or there's a story behind it. I feel like if you can capture that in the drawing, it's just a more powerful piece.
It also gives me an out to name the person in case the people don't know who it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't figure it out.
Or tag them so they can, share your
I've
work.
never heard back from anybody really.
Really?
Yeah.
What about
I never send it to them. I just put it out there.
Rami Malek on Kimmel?
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, well, I haven't heard back from him, but I saw him. Jimmy Kimmel had Rami Malek as a guest on his show a couple of weeks ago, and then the second part of it, he took out the picture I did of him, and he said, "Did you see this picture that Kevin Nealon painted of you?" And he looked at it, and the audience applauded, and he goes, "Kevin Nealon is no longer my friend." Guess what? I was never his friend to begin with. I never met him.
You lost your shot.
Yeah.
So sort of in that vein.
But he has a identical twin brother. A lot of people don't know that. So if he ever like meets me face to face, I'll say, "That was not you, Rami. That was your brother."
So in that vein, and you sort of talked a little bit about this with your time on SNL and sketching the cast members, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about this. Jeff Pomberg asks, in what ways did your love for caricature come into play during your time on SNL? Did you draw other cast members, guest hosts, musical artists?
I used to do a bit. I did it on SNL where I was a portrait artist, like you see down at the boardwalk. And I always love them because they ask a lot of questions and never really, they want to get ideas to make you be doing something. What's your best hobby, all that stuff. So I'd get a woman to come up on stage as a volunteer, and she would have no idea. And I had the easel, and she would sit in the chair facing the audience, and my back would be to the audience, and they could see the easel. And I would ask her a lot of those questions. So you go to school? Yeah, you like school? Uh-huh. And where do you live? Oh, yeah, you like Dakota? Yeah, you like that? And it'd be a horrible caricature of her, big nose, wouldn't look anything like her. But as I was shifting her face, I would be getting charcoal on her face from my fingers, and she wouldn't know it, until her whole face was covered in charcoal, but the audience could see it. And they'd be laughing, and she'd think they're laughing at the picture, And then at the end, I would show her in the mirror, and people reacted well. But I would draw a lot of them during the table read, or we read through the sketches. And, those are all gone now, but I would, everybody, I did everybody.
Did they see them? Like, did you say like, "Hey, I drew you on the table"?
They weren't that good. Sometimes I didn't. Most of the times I didn't show them.
And they're just, you don't got them anymore.
And I don't show the people on the airplane either.
I was gonna ask you about that. If the people on the airplane ever look over and be like, "Is Kevin Nealon drawing me right now?" Like how does someone come to terms with that?
Well, some people want their picture drawn, and that usually those are the ones I don't want to draw, But I will tell you that Eddie Vedder is a good friend with my manager, and my manager is a fan of my art stuff. So he said, "Why don't you draw Eddie Vedder?" I said, "Okay." So I drew Eddie Vedder, and he gave it to Eddie Vedder as a gift. He framed it and stuff. And then he told Mark, "This is the best caricature I've ever had. People draw me all the time, but I never." And then my manager said, Eddie Vedder usually sends a thank you card in calligraphy because he does calligraphy, which a lot of people don't know. If he really likes something, he'll send that to you.
Wow.
Never got one of those.
Lost in the mail, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably. I wouldn't have been able to read it anyway. I'd like to ask you to leave, please.
So I won't lie, we're already like halfway through the questions. So I'm going to ask you this one. Thanks to Damon Renthrope. Where's Damon?
Oh, he's good.
Where's Damon? Good. Damon. Damon asks, do you like green grapes or purple grapes more?
That is so Damon. I like, it varies. I like purple grapes with white wine, but green grapes with vodka.
Asking the important question.
Good question. I do like green grapes better, though, to be honest with you. They're more
really?
crispier, I think.
You're a
Yeah.
purple grape guy, but no one's asking.
I didn't take you for a purple grape guy.
Yeah. I guess this is where we part ways.
First of all, how many people are drawing me right now? I feel a little self-conscious.
How many people are drawing me right now? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Oh, Allie's got me. So who has been your favorite SNL castmate to capture in caricature form?
Well, I've done Dana Carvey. Probably. Oh, Chris Rock. Probably Chris Rock.
Have you drawn him like several times?
No, one time.
Just one time, but
I don't have that kind of time, Tom.
So
I got deadlines.
Just to clarify, is he your favorite castmate that you like to draw? Or
No, I don't like him as a person.
You draw. Okay, gotcha.
No, I mean, everybody's fun to draw because, as you know, they all have different features. And but Chris Rock has that energy, like he loves stand-up so much. And I used to see him when he first started out. I'd see him at a club called the Catch a Rising Star in New York. And he was there every night. He'd come in from Bedford-Stuyvesant, which is a tough neighborhood. And he would get there when it opened and he would go when it closed. And he was always getting up and watching other comics. And little did I know I'd be working with him on SNL one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Little
it was
did
great.
I know I'd be sitting here with Kevin Nealon talking caricatures.
Little did I know I would be here with Don over there.
Right.
And Damon.
This is actually a really introspective question. I'm really curious to hear the answer to this one. What do you hope to see in paintings, caricatures of yourself?
Well, that's a real personal question, first of all.
You don't have to answer.
I love seeing caricatures of me because as a student of this, I'm trying to figure out what people take, what features they take to exaggerate. Mm-hmm. And I've seen them all, not all, but I've seen a lot of them and caricatures people have done. And I'm always like interested in seeing how they do it. And some are more flattering than others, but for me, it's the high forehead. It's the dark eyebrows, which I color in. And I'm so stoned right now. But,
when in Rome.
Yeah, so that, and then as I get older, I'm getting a little of the jowl stuff going on, and I seem to have chipmunk cheeks, and my nose is getting bigger. And if they do the body, it'd probably be rounded shoulders and almost a humpback with a cantilever neck coming out of my chest.
So no surprises when you get the picture.
No, not really.
That's what it's all about, right? So this question.
But I did like the one I just discovered by Dean Prince. Is it Dan Prince or Dean Prince?
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, he does like the Picasso kind of stuff, with all the angles. And it's very, it's non-traditional. Mm-hmm. That was kind of an interesting one that I had never seen before.
I'll have to see that. You on Instagram?
He's on Instagram, yeah.
Okay, yeah, see? Yeah, right? Like, you just taught me something I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's really
it's easy to do.
Impressive. Like I said, it's kind of like stand-up. You're always looking to be unique from the other zillion comics that are out there and original. And everybody's good at what they do, and that's fine too. You could be a good stand-up and work a lot and, be impressive, but, being original is always kind of interesting as well.
I was, personally, I was glad to hear you as a stand-up comedian make that connection to character, like that there is that kind of similarity, like that kindred spirit element of it. I found that there is a sort of a camaraderie in stand-up comedy that I've seen. I haven't, been a part of it, but I feel like it's very similar to the camaraderie we have here in this room.
Yeah,
this space.
I think you're right.
And that's always been my perspective. So it was kind of cool seeing you share that from the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah, I see so many comparisons between the two. Like I'll watch stand-ups that are really good and I'll learn from them, or I'll see bad stand-ups and I'll learn what not to do. And it's the same, with caricature artists. And I've seen a lot of them over the years.
Character arts or bad stand-up comics?
Both.
So this one actually, I'm gonna preface this question because it assumes that you draw your subjects live, and you do when they're sleeping. The question is, as an accomplished comedian with celebrity recognition, how do you make your subjects relax when you draw them live? What techniques do you use to get them to forget you're you?
Well, I think, for me, it's usually quick. And I've never sat to do somebody with a Wacom. For me, it's like the bad sketches that you saw because they're really quick. So, but if somebody has to sit for a while, I always look at them like this as I'm drawing, and it makes them relax and laugh. So I'm drawing you, right? You try to give them the smiles, you go, and they start laughing and smiling, and then it's when the drugs kick in. No, I'm kidding.
I feel calmer already. So
yeah, it'll kick. Yeah, you'll feel it in another half hour.
This one comes from our friend Tad Barney.
He's the best.
Do you know Tad?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, he's Tad runs a talent agency, a caricature agency called The Nose. He asked, "Can you let me know when you're ready to draw at parties? I can make you rich."
He said the same. Dad? He said the same thing to Heidi Fleiss, by the way. I don't think I would ever do something like that. I mean, I'm exhausted now just from doing what I'm doing. My eyes, I could barely keep my eyelids open because I've been on the computer so much the last couple of months. I mean, every day for like 7 hours a day, sometimes 4 hours at a time without stopping. And I've went through, in the last 2 years, I went to a neurosurgeon because I thought I had a tumor because I was getting headaches and my neck was stiff. And whenever I bend over, I got headaches and I thought I had a tumor. And it was from drawing. It was from leaning over and being like that and stiff. And then my back was hurting. And then now my eyes are like on fire. And I think it's because I'm looking at the screen so much. So now I'm off the screen and I'm just doing paper and pencil. And then we'll transfer that later down the road.
You gotta balance it out.
Yeah. I mean, I drink heavily too, but other than that,
Does that help or hinder?
That hinders.
That is the.
How many of these have I gotten wrong so far?
Yeah, you're passing barely.
Okay.
So we got about 5-10 minutes here, and we're out of questions that were submitted in advance. So if anyone has any questions in the audience, I'll bring the mic up, but because I've been speaking into it, we ask that you put your mask on before I bring the mic to your face.
Why didn't I know about this mic?
Yeah, because it's been sterilized before you got to it. That's what they tell us.
One time, this guy introduced me at a club, the MC, and he goes, "Okay, your headliner's coming up." And he took a mic. Yeah, he took a wet wipe and he cleaned off the mic. He cleaned everything. Okay, you're gonna enjoy this next guy. He talks back into the mic. That's like wearing a condom and then not wearing a condom.
I saw Bob East over here. I'm gonna come on over.
Bob East is the best,
isn't he?
This is probably the single most important question you could possibly ever answer. And is
get to the question.
And that is, can I get a guest spot on an Indianapolis show if you come to town? That's very important to me.
What do you mean a guest spot?
A guest spot.
Parking?
On your yes. On one of your shows.
You would have to go to the club for that.
Yeah.
Because, if you suck, then that makes me look bad.
Right.
Ash.
See, this is how small this community is. You know everybody's name. That's it.
So Kevin, I'm curious. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm curious, you have this start in drawing and you've been doing it for so long. but then you started shifting to caricature. What is it about caricature that you're so endeared to?
Well, I've always loved caricature, and that's what I always kind of aspired to do. But I like it because I do feel like it's a nonverbal form of stand-up. Like when the pandemic hit, it was the way to get laughs from people without being out there. You know, you could just do a caricature and post it, and people would like it and they would appreciate it. And that was my way of getting through the pandemic and still being able to kind of be funny, you know. So that's why I like it. But even without the pandemic, I loved it. And before that too. It's just that now with the digital artwork, you get better results, you know, and you could get the colors are much more sharp. And, you know, and like I said, I'm always learning. I mean, I learned things from you today that I didn't even know. Mostly Photoshop stuff. And I'm looking forward to watching your talk that you did.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
Tom, I don't see any more hands.
Celestia. I'm coming your way here.
Tom's like Phil Donahue now.
Hi, Kevin. You're probably well aware that you're not the first comedian to do caricatures. There was like Dick Van Dyke and a few others.
What? What?
And there's a lot of caricature artists who do comedy and impressions. You know, there's Bob, and and I have heard that there's sort of a similar approach when you're doing an impression of somebody comedically, verbally with your face as there is when you're drawing that face in a caricature way. Are you cognizant of that sort of connection? Do you have
As I'm drawing,
any insight?
as I'm drawing the person,
Yeah, as you're looking.
I'm
for how to
doing like
caricature.
a face like theirs. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of that. But you know, if I'm drawing like Tom Petty or somebody, I'll put on their music to try to get into that vibe. You know, I always said that Dana Carvey was more than an impressionist. He would do caricatures of impressions. You know, like George Bush. He would go, you know, instead of not gonna do it, he'd go, not gonna that, not gonna that. So I always thought that as like a caricature of an impression.
Caleb.
Hey, so
Hey,
you're saying like you're starting to take a toll, like the working on the screen is taking a toll on you. Have you considered painting traditionally?
yeah,
Jason's a
I started taking oil painting classes about 2 months ago.
How's that going? Do you enjoy that?
I do enjoy it, not as much as digital art though, because digital art is, you know, more immediate gratification and it's easier and it's not as sloppy. But I do like I like the notion of painting in oil. You know, I used to do some acrylic stuff, but I like the oil painting. But it's a whole different world, as you know, learning all the techniques and mixing colors. But I do like it. And if digital art takes me 20 hours to do one person, that will take me 20 weeks to do one person. Yeah, I was doing like that David Letterman one. Yeah, but they all turn out to be caricatures, even if it's a portrait.
No, I'd like to ask the counterpoint to the question earlier of what your favorite face to draw was. Is there a face you've tried repeatedly to get that you have just not been able to hit that you keep going back to?
There was one actress that I must have spent 2 months on drawing her picture, and then also the Pointer Sisters. And I couldn't remember whose name was whom, you know, on out of the band, but there was this actress Daisy Edgar Jones from Normal People, who I kind of fell in love with on that TV show. So it was hard to. Who was showing me their paintings of models and then making them caricatures? Yeah, those were great. So that was like the problem I was having. It was hard to take somebody who had no outstanding features and make a caricature out of them. So like I told somebody, if you can't find anything, just give them a long neck and big ears, you know? That's my go-to when I can't find anything. But I do a lot of them over and over And then sometimes I'm still not even happy with it.
There's a question from the Zoom coming in. Has Kevin drawn his family and how did that go?
I drew my wife as a character. My wife is an actress. She was on Parks and Rec. She did a recurring thing on there. Jessica Wicks, her name was on there. And she's, she does films and stuff. And then she was in a Groundling show where she wore a red wig and she played a character, and I drew that. But I haven't done my son. I think it's hard to draw kids unless you give them a big neck and big ears. Tweety bird head, yeah. And they have that little button nose. It's hard to draw babies as caricatures. Newborn baby.
So this is kind of a weird thing, but you have experienced a lot of success in a certain creative venue. We love our creative venue, and now you're tapping into that. So as people who are always striving and climbing towards a certain goal that seems unattainable with the imposter syndrome that we all have, how do you see this new creative outlet? Do you have a goal? Do you have a goal for caricature, or is this something that puts you at peace?
Oh, that question hurts my brain.
Because the reason I ask that is that
So a two-part question?
you're really fucking good at it.
Thank you. I'm getting better. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. I know I'm not there yet, and I'm getting there. But I think it's all about passion. If you like doing something, it doesn't matter whether you get there or not. Because if I never made it as a stand-up, I'd still be doing open mic nights because I love doing it and I love drawing caricatures. And I also see the progress I'm making, and I'm learning every day, whether it's from looking at the stuff you guys do, or being taught by Ashley how to be quicker on Photoshop or whatever. So I just love, like I said, it's a whole new world for me, and I'm still discovering it, and I love it, and it really brings excitement to my life. Period.
I'm gonna take one more question. I believe there's one over here. Yeah.
Actually, my question was Joe's question. So, but I'm going to leave you with frozen green grapes are the superior grape.
Frozen. Oh, they're good for the back. I gotcha. So I have one question for the audience before
I gotta bring the mic to them individually.
before you cut me my check. My question is on copyright infringement. Does anybody know, and I've asked a lot of people, and it seems to be a gray area, when is it copyright infringement when you're doing a caricature from a reference picture from like a famous rock and roll photographer or something? I know that Tom Richmond had an article on that.
So I hope that clears that up.
If I give it a well, the only thing I'm going off of now is give it a long neck and big ears, and they won't sue you.
There you go.
All right. Well, I have a phone call with a lawyer on Friday to find out. Seriously, I do.
Oh, let us know when you find out.
I will post. I'll post the answer. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for all the
Thank you,
encouragement.
Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey everyone, just hang tight here. If you gotta, get up, stretch your legs. Use